I've spent 6 years now in the board game hobby space, filming and producing videos, backing close to 300 games. I believe I'm at 298 games on Kickstarter, not including other projects on other platforms like GameFound and BackerKit, which have grown up over the last couple of years. I have bought, purchased, supported, and abandoned the Kickstarter space more times than I'd like to acknowledge. Here's the reality. Kickstarter, like many people have said on video after video that I have produced and across platform after platform, Kickstarter today is not what Kickstarter yesteryear was. When Kingdom Death, my favorite game of all time, was first created, it was an ambitious, mammoth masterpiece with board game pieces on what looked like a chessboard. It had no idea what it was, and we backed it and loved it and absorbed it and gave the community the support they needed, gave the publisher the support they needed to create something marvelous. When Gloomhaven, which is what we're exploring right now, first came into existence, it came into existence as an idea, a series of diaries and journal entries and design notes that have been collected over the last 2 years of work, where Isaac was just painstakingly creating something, and finally it was able to be brought to life. It was able to be funded, to be created because of platforms like Kickstarter. But today, the place we are now is a place that's rampant with, well, marketing tactics that trick you into backing, FOMO that makes you spend and put more money on a credit card than you could ever readily justify, especially if you looked at the numbers. Piles of games that you have backed up behind you, don't lie to yourself, that you'll never actually get to the table. Probably never even shrink wrap or unwrap the shrink wrap because you should sell them tomorrow on Facebook or eBay. Kickstarter has bought, paid, tricked, lied, swindled, and convinced you that you need every single thing under the sun. And now, we've seen company after company, with quite a few that should have pulled the plug already but haven't, because for some reason they think that they can make up the debt that they've imbued. We've seen company after company fail, drop the ball, not deliver. We've seen the marketing tactics and the greed that has enveloped our hobby, the rip-off copies of games that have already been created, the 17th version of Zombicide, and we love Zombicide.
I do love that game.
We've seen our industry really shift, take a step back, have a foul taste in its mouth. And it's not that there aren't great things out there, but the stuff that's getting the most attention, the stuff that's getting the most noise, the stuff that is tricking people into backing, buying, and supporting beyond their reasonable means, a lot of that stuff is stuff that doesn't belong on the platform. It's stuff that could exist in another way. It's stuff that, like Stonemaier Games did way back, originally in the day, should have its own separate pre-order system, or should build a community that is rewarded and supported. This video is one or two things. Ultimately, this video is an analysis of what's gone wrong on Kickstarter and an advocacy for holding publishers accountable and rewarding publishers who are doing things right. I've heard people for a long time talk about how they're tired of the marketing tactics. They're tired of the limited stretch goals, the exclusive offers, the surcharges in the pledge manager where I backed for $100 and suddenly you're charging me $732 on the back end. I've heard a lot of people complain, but
extra contributions just to get your game made.
Few people actually put their dollar where their mouth is.
I mean, anywhere you get that rampant consumerism, you know, you find something that's good and honest and pure, and then it becomes successful, and then it's inevitable that consumerism is going to take over, and, you know, it's a, you know, capitalistic market, and for all the benefits of a capitalistic market, there's also a trade-off there. It becomes a little too good at convincing you that the money is better spent on Kickstarter or GameFound or whatever the crowdfunding platform is, than it is doing something else in your life.
I mean,
in your savings
Kickstarter's
account, for example.
a multi-billion-dollar company. I mean, they've raised over the course of they were founded in 2009. They've raised billions, right?
And some really good works come out of it.
And board games are the single biggest category on that insane platform. And so, like you said, we've seen a shift in the tide. What is the point of this? What are we leading to? There's a little game that's launched. A game we've talked about, a game we're highlighting, a game we're celebrating. The game is called Rove. It's made by Addicts Games, and it's designed by someone who I think is very important to our hobby and important to this point. Matti Eisenbach. He's the creator of a little project called Crimson Scales. These type of people are the people who crowdfunding platforms are designed for. We're currently going through a gameplay series on Crimson Scales, and by the way, we're not sponsored, we're not financially or relationally involved at all with Addicts Games. One of my friends, Wes Todd, who used to be on this channel, is working with Rove on this project, and I met Matti through his work on the single biggest free fan-made expansion ever created, and we've become close friends since then. But this is the type of game that people look for. This is the type of person that people look for. Give them a breakdown of what Crimson Scales is and why this type of creator is the people that we want to see on Kickstarter.
I don't know, you know, Matti. I don't know Matti
personally at all.
Not personally at all. I just know of him through Jesse, really in just these last couple of days. I had already backed Rove myself, and I've slowed down enormously on my backing compared to what I've done in the years past, and that's a whole other conversation. But I did back Rove because I look at a game like Crimson Scales as such an impressive passion project that I saw somebody who came to the market, and just to hear the story of like, this guy did it nonprofit. He did this out of love for the board game space, for what I assume is his favorite game of all time, which would be Gloomhaven.
Over the pandemic, his wife and him played through all of Gloomhaven, and he fell in love with it. And so he joined. It wasn't just him. He was the lead head of it. But some of the other people involved with Rove were some of the creators of Crimson Scales to begin with. He joined the community on BGG, on Reddit, on Discord that were doing fan-made expansions. They were creating their own custom characters and scenarios and just continuing to explore a game that they felt headed over heels with. And eventually, when they got to the point that they were ready to put an order in, a print run in, he started figuring out how to actually manufacture it, how to create it. He reached out to Isaac. He got permission to do a print, to actually get a bulk order. They ended up creating 2 production runs, 8,000 copies, delivered to fans, with an expansion, with miniatures, with a box this scale and size, and on top of that, he did every single bit of it, not only with the full communication, permission, with full engagement of Cephalofair Games. He didn't want to ever step over any bounds that they set, because they had opened up a Creative Commons license so that people could do this, but getting to a commercial pre-order system is a whole step beyond creating fun assets on BGG. But he also did it without any of him or his team covering their costs, paying for their time.
It's incredible.
No one
I
walked
just
away
a week and a half ago
profit.
had a game that I backed on Kickstarter in July of 2020. I backed this game, and it just delivered way after multiple delays, and I'm happy to have it. I'm glad it's finally in my collection. But, it took forever. And then there's another game that asked for additional contributions just to get your game.
Yeah.
And I did get that game, so I was one of those people that ponied up the extra money.
Yeah.
Then you got something like this, and Crimson Scales, on the level of quality, the level of love that went into this game for a game that I already loved. Gloomhaven, I already loved it. So when I learned about this, and I said, this guy's coming out with another game, and this is going to be his first, for-profit game, I went, I have to buy that, just on principle alone.
Yeah.
Just to thank him for Crimson Scales.
I'm not advocating that you go buy Crimson Scales. That's the antithesis of what this message of this video is. The point of this video is to highlight and talk for a little bit, just openly and honestly, about the sins of the Kickstarter and crowdfunding industry, the way they trick, lie, distort, and manipulate you. But the contrast of that, and the thing we have to recognize, is that creators like this need to succeed on this platform. It's where Gloomhaven came from. It's where Kingdom Death came from. It's where still amazing projects get made. And so you can't just get rid of everything. If you appreciate a fan like you going out of their way to create, produce, and make the single most successful and single best produced board game expansion, fan-made expansion, free expansion ever in our industry, you should back row for $1. You should put your money where your mouth is. You should leave a comment saying, hey, I'm not going to back this. This game isn't for me. I don't like Gloomhaven. I'm not looking for a campaign game. This game might not be right for you. If you like Gloomhaven, if you are looking for a campaign game, if you like the beautiful ethereal artwork of the original artist of Gloomhaven, then yeah, Rove's fantastic. I don't mean to make you not excited. But the point is that if you are frustrated with how the Kickstarter industry is, you should do something about it. Creators like this, indie creators, small creators, first-time publishers, creators from diverse backgrounds, from various regions of the world who are collaborating, working, and bringing a dream to life are oftentimes the most abused and overlooked on our platform and in our industry. We had a policy from the very get-go here at Quackalope about 4 years ago that we went out of our way to avoid charging first-time publishers or indie publishers for content that we made here on the channel. The whole reason that policy was formed is because within the first year of working behind the scenes, trying to figure out how to make this a career, I discovered that the model of most of the other media companies in our space was built off of charging first-time and small creators sometimes astronomical amounts, Geek and Sundry come to mind, and sometimes fairly reasonable amounts, actually not that bad, but charging them with the knowledge that they would likely not make a profit. Not only on this print run, but on any future print run in the foreseeable window of time. Our industry disregards, takes advantage, distorts, lies, manipulates, betrays you, the fans, betrays the publishers who are trying to make a dream come true, takes money, right, from us, from them. It takes dreams and dashes them. It tricks them into backing, spending, investing, putting money on marketing ads that'll never get eyes enough to actually sell the game at a price they need to be able to sell it at. All because we've built a really successful, big financial system.
Yep.
This guy and the people that are on his team and other creators that are just like him, I could list a dozen, and over the course of the next year here on Quackalope, I hope we'll get the chance to highlight, shout about, and continue to celebrate publishers that are doing something worthwhile, that are contributing to our hobby, that are fans just like you and me who only want to see something cool that they created on a table in front of them, and in the process of doing that, don't really want to have to mortgage their house to make it happen. I know a lot of people that have. I know a lot of people that have lost a lot of things on the road, from fans and backers to big old publishers.
Bonus tip, speaking to what you're talking about, the rampant consumerism and feeling as if you've got to get everything, go all in, get the next best game, and you're constantly back at it. I was in that. And I've done the what I call the Kickstarter addictive model, right? You back everything for 3 or 4 months, then you run out of money or you get a little bit of common sense, you wait for about 6 months, all the games start coming in, and then you convince yourself that maybe there's something cool you should pay attention to, and then the expansions for those games come out, and you're here's how I broke that cycle. A little bit over a year ago, last February 2023 it would have been. I started a new budget app, and I'm gonna plug it just because I love it. It's YNAB, YNAB. You need a budget. It's an app, and it's a budget app, and it helps you to purposefully assign your money to different categories. And I have a board game specific budget that I say this is what I allot myself for board game in general. All right. If it doesn't fit in that, then I have to wait till that accumulates large enough to where I then make the purchase. Or if I really feel like it's that important, I'll go to a different category and say maybe I don't need that, extra fun money. I'm going to move that over to my board game thing. But you're purposely making decisions about how you spend your money, and you're doing it in a more intentional way. And that has absolutely changed the way not only I look at the board game space, but how I look at my finances in general. And it's made me a much more responsible spender. Okay, you know, you already had your mechanisms for savings, but how are you spending your money, and how are you doing it intentionally? Whatever budgeting system you use one. That's how, if you really want to be motivated to get out of this Kickstarter cycle of backing everything, buying everything, getting into everything, find a budget app that works for you. For me, it was YNAB, and I'll speak the praises of that forever because of how much of an impact it's had.
For me, I just gave my wife my credit cards, and I asked her permission to do basically everything.
And she said, "You need a budget."
She said, "I am your budget.
Yep.
Here's your allowance." The final message. Let me just sum up. There's a lot to talk about here, and I am sure over the course of the next year here on Quackalope, I will be revealing, talking, diving into. I don't know. I've got a lot of thoughts, as you can tell. Mm-hmm. Here's my 2 main points. Publishers who care about their community, who support their fans, who give updates, who let you know what's happening, who deliver products. Publishers who are putting stuff out for the sake of saving themselves, like many companies you could probably name.
Yeah. And that's a whole another can of worms.
We should support and reward the publishers who do it right. People like when Oathsworn had to go ask their fans for funding, they had been so good, so honest, so engaged with their community. You all donated thousands of dollars to help these people bring their game to life. The response of that compared to other publishers who've been quiet, silent, and failed to deliver multiple campaigns and kind of have had rolling numbers, we should reward the people that do it well, that do it right. We should keep them in business, and we should rip apart and, complain about the people who don't. And then the second point I make, Rove's my example. I can't think of another person in our industry who has went out of their way for a board game they loved to the degree that Matti and his team have. That's my reality. Mm-hmm. I think if you care, if you're one of these people that watched this video to this point, the part that you can play is supporting people like them. If you're complaining on my videos, if you're talking about how manipulative the Kickstarter space is to me in person or over the phone, or you leave a comment, my first response from this point forward is going to be, hey, who'd you back for $1? Who'd you support? Tell me the indie game that you're a big fan of, that you advocated for. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to back it. You don't have to put all your money in it. You can back out of your $1 pledge the day before the campaign closes. It's enough to support, to show up, to leave a comment, to give them some encouragement, and you should. It's the only way that we
and to be clear,
weather the storm that's currently happening in our space.
To be clear, the point of that is not the dollar that you're putting into that campaign. It's the comment that you leave on that Kickstarter and the effect it has on the algorithm.
The dollar just allows you to make the comment.
Yep.
That's it.
And that's where these small indie publishers that are trying to battle the big, mega companies that are, able to generate thousands and thousands and thousands of comments in a day on their first day of launching. The people who need the attention are those small guys. They need that algorithm boost.
So, if you're frustrated with Kickstarter, you have every right to be. I am, and I have been for years. With that being said, who'd you back? Who'd you support? Who have you invested in? Who do you think is doing it right and is worth the platform that they have? Welcome to a new stage of Quackalope. I hope you're enjoying it.